Welcome to Sterling Insights, Stand Out and Supercharge Your Assets, the go-to podcast for financial advisors aiming to grow their assets under management, stand out in a crowded market, and retain assets nearly forever. Are you advising high net worth clients who own appreciated capital assets? Do you want to help them sell without losing a quarter, a third, or even more of their hard-earned profits to capital gains taxes? Then this podcast is tailored for you. Each episode brings you the latest strategies and expert advice from leading financial advisors, seasoned attorneys, and experienced CPAs. Learn how to maximize your clients' wealth, minimize their taxes, and supercharge your advisory practice with actionable insights. Join us on Sterling Insights, Stand Out and Supercharge Your Assets, where you'll gain the knowledge and tools to set yourself apart and achieve unparalleled success in wealth management. Subscribe now and empower your practice for a brighter, more prosperous future.
Welcome to the Sterling Insights, Stand Out and Supercharge Your Assets. I'm your guest host, Mike Agol. Today, my guest is Jeff Davidson with Capstone Forensic Group. Thank you so much, Jeff, for joining me. How's everything going today?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me. It's going great. How about yourself?
Doing great. Getting ready for the weekend. Hopefully this weather holds up and we have not too many showers and life goes on and we can enjoy the sun for a change. Well, tell me something about this. How did you become an accountant, or what made you become an accountant?
So I kind of had a weird roundabout way I got into it. I didn't really in college study for accounting. I studied more political science, statistics, a lot of math. Um, and when I was, initially setting out to look into, what I was going to do, I was looking into a lot of journalism roles around 2012. Wasn't so much out there. And I started looking and seeing sort of what other opportunities there were. And I came across this job in Houston. It was in forensic accounting and, I didn't really know much about it. And I thought, I don't really have much accounting, but, I've got all these other skills. And turns out that's actually sort of what you look for in forensic accounting. You look for, sort of a wide set of skills. You look for being able to read documents, not just documents, but like, dense, legal documents, lots of document production, and then write reports, communicate stuff. And then the accounting's part of it, and you learn that. And I learned that, pretty quickly, took a bunch of courses. So very quickly got into this field I didn't really know anything about and really fell in love with it.
Wow, that's really interesting. So you could use this expertise in multiple ways. How did you arrive at what you're doing now?
Basically, it was the job. It was really finding this job that worked out really well for me. And I think what really stuck to it for me was I had these math skills, but I also had a lot of these qualitative skills. I had the statistics, I always loved numbers. And, but I never applied it in sort of a financial field. I'd take some economic courses here and there, but never really applied it in a financial field beyond sort of some reporting and stuff I had done. But then, I also had a lot of these, political science and more sort of, you might say, liberal arts broad background. So when I started doing this work, it, really just seemed like the perfect application of my background.
Yeah, it sounds like it spoke to you very well, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, it was a perfect fit, really. And really, it's just grown from there. It's just grown from where I started, and yeah, it's become a really good
It's
opportunity
more of a
for me.
dream. It sounds like it's more of a dream that came true and it fits your lifestyle, that's for sure. That's really neat. So, how did you start this firm that you're in now, or where did you come from?
Yeah, so obviously I worked at that firm for a while that I started at back in 2012. I had did support a couple other areas. Honestly, went out and did some government contracting work related to really statistical analysis. I did some solo work on taxation, general accounting, and then eventually I found my way back. I it always was drawn back to it, and honestly came back to the original firm. Did a lot of contracting work with them for a while, and then eventually, the previous owner was retiring, and four of us who had worked there decided, let's set out on our own. Let's go do it. And we started our own company in 2022, Capstone Forensic Group, and we've been super happy with how much work we've been getting, and all our testimony experience, and we've just been building up, a name for ourselves ever since.
That's really neat. So you have, I saw on your website, you had a few partners. So there four of you? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's four of us total, three just absolutely awesome people. We all have we all can do all the work, but we all sort of have our little areas we love working on.
Expertise.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
really neat. Can you tell me a little bit how you interact with clients?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess I should step back and sort of define a little bit of what forensic accounting is, probably before I get there. Um,
Yes, that would be very helpful.
yeah. So forensic accounting, it can mean a couple of different things. Obviously, you have forensic accountants in the FBI, and that's where people know what that means, right? Those are the bad guys. Those are, you investigating financial crimes, prosecuting them. They're the ones, no, those are the forensic accountants that carry guns. Those are,
That's correct.
basically how we describe them. Then there's us. We're mostly on the civil side. We do criminal a little bit. We do some of that criminal work, but most of it is going to be on the civil side. It's going to be damages cases, lost profits, looking at basically calculating what happened in basically a civil matter. And so we usually get hired. Most of the time we get hired by attorneys, not always, but most of the time. And then they have end clients who are, the named plaintiff or defendants in a case, whether it's in court or in arbitration or in some other sort of venue. We're then hired as the objective expert for one side or the other. We see a case all the way through. So we can do everything. So we start from day one. We can help with drafting requests for information all the way up through writing reports, being deposed, going to trial, presenting information to a jury, everything in between, which is quite a big scope. In addition to that, there are also other aspects. So there are internal fraud investigations we might come in on. So that might not be a litigated dispute. We might just come in and, client suspects that someone is misappropriating assets and they want someone on the outside to come look. That they'd come hire us. Also might just be business valuations. So that's a typical aspect of sort of the forensic accounting field. Often we lump together valuations. That's just valuing small businesses. So we get hired for that for tax work, or whether it's for gift tax or just shareholder separation where they need a value. So sorry, that was a big start to your question, but
Well, it's actually a very good elaborate answer, and mainly because people would love to hear more about what you do. Because forensic accounting to me sounds like it's something that's more of a trial that you're going to go through, but then you just now went through a business evaluation, and that really is a big piece of what's going on today as we change generational wealth from one family to another and so forth. So that is a very good analysis that helped us and will help our clients and other people with this type of information you're passing along.
yeah, sure thing. Yeah. And I'm happy to
So,
talk about any of those more.
so can you tell me how a typical case transpires, or is that really the gist of it, depending on the situation? It goes from one step to the other because you went through a bunch of different steps, but it can range from a business evaluation to the other aspects that you just now spoke of. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, every case has its own little quirks to it, but at the end of the day, basically there's going to be some sort of intake where we get some sort of inquiry, whether it's through our website or somebody just calls us up or we get an email from someone, and we're going to, usually have an initial screening phone call, try to understand the scope and the needs and, the budget. From there, we're going to run a conflict check. That's number one thing. Make sure we're not financially or otherwise interested in any of the parties on either side. And once that clears, engagement letter, that retains us. And then from there, we're off to the races. That's where it starts to differ. But typically it starts with document request. We're talking with the client or the attorney about, what do we need to see? What's the list of information, and make sure we get that back to us. And that starts to dictate then where we go from there. And then from there, there's deadlines. So it could be there's a court mandated deadline for an expert report. It could be 30 days, 60 days, a year out. It really varies. And so once we get through that report stage, there's typically an expert on the other side that we're responding to and responding to us. But again, if it's a valuation, it's different. So it really varies, but I'm just trying to give you sort of the general gist of how a case starts up.
No, that's really neat because that actually really does help a lot of people to understand a little bit more of the process. Is there any misconceptions that people really start to develop out of this, or is there really y'all take them from A to B to Z, and you really kind of walk the client through a process that will help them either win a case, value their business, or anything else. Is there anything we might miss out or misunderstand that you're trying to teach us or help us with?
I'd say the main misconception we come across, usually through people finding us on our website, is thinking that we're PIs, like private investigators. Um, that's not us. We don't go break down doors and
Well, that
find
makes sense.
money. And yeah, so but what we're doing is we're working with typically data that exists, or we help the clients or the attorney figure out what data they need. We then aggregate it, and we're the objective expert. We're not an advocate, like an attorney would be. We have professional standards. We follow very strict rules about the ethics in our field. But ultimately, your best expert is going to be one that can be objective and is pushing back on you. So we're not. Yes, we are retained by and paid by the client, but I'm not going to go out there and say something that is untrue or that I can't support. That's not going to help you in the end either. Not only ethically is it wrong for me, but just it's not going to help the client at the end of the day present their case if our expert's not reliable. All of our
Right.
work is based off of my reputation. My reputation is the most important thing for being a financial expert.
Correct. Is there any challenges or that you can think of that might arise during the process?
Document collection can be very difficult, whether it's trying to, the other side may be reluctant to produce information, may be harmful to them, or they may just be frankly reluctant to put sensitive information out in the record. So document collection can often be the most one of the more challenging aspects of this, but it's essential. And being
Right.
able to talk that lingo and figure out how to get the documents we need, that's super important for us.
Well, so what do you like best about doing this forensic accounting or forensic investigations that you do?
I just like meeting all the people. I meet, interesting people all the time, and I get to learn about their industry or their field or what they do, how their businesses work, and, becoming obviously I'm an expert in the financial field and in accounting, but I also sort of get to become a little mini expert in whatever their field is. And I learn
Yeah.
about, and frankly, it's typically something new every day.
Oh,
Yeah, that's probably the coolest aspect of it. There's no like, when I think of accounting, I often think of sort of doing similar things every day. It's not true at all, but it's the misconception I had about it, going in. But certainly in this field, it's always something new.
yeah, I
So
can imagine. I mean, a lot of people will pigeonhole you in circumstance because you're a CPA. But if you think about it from a standpoint of being your client and the different aspects of the different businesses out there, there is a lot to learn. So that's really actually a really good insight because I was under the impression, yeah, he's a CPA, he does this, but if you think about talking to the different businesses, it really does open your eyes and really give you a more of an inside look about what's going on and how you can help your clients. So that's really neat.
it's true, and even beyond the forensic field, it's true for all CPAs. I mean, they have to have such a good understanding of your business to be able to, fully do their work. And yeah, I mean, it's a interesting field, and there's certainly been struggles lately in getting people to become CPAs, and
Oh
um,
God, yes. Seems
yeah,
like the limited amount of college graduates really go into that field, and some of them who do get a degree in there, they actually go into other fields because of whatever the reason. But it takes a special person like yourself to do what you're doing and build a business out of it. So that's really neat to me.
yeah, and I've been very fortunate. We've got great employees. They're awesome, and yeah, we've got a good firm here, and yeah, it's an exciting field. I'm excited to see where it goes in the next
Yeah,
20
same
years.
here. Jeff, can you tell me how they would find you? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way would just be our website, capstoneforensic.com. No S on there, it's just Capstone Forensic, but you can find us on Google too. I'm Jeff Davidson, forensic accountant, probably going to pop up pretty high up there. Yeah, it's probably the best places at this point.
Well, great. I really appreciate you doing this for us. This is basically the end of our conversation. Basically, I'd like to say thank you for attending this, number one. Number two, I really want to thank Jeff for giving us an insight of his business. And just to closing statement, basically, this is Sterling Insights Stand Out and Supercharge Your Assets. I'm your guest host, Mike Agol. My guest today was Jeff Davidson. For more information on Jeff, please visit his website at capstoneforensic.com. And again, thank you very much, Jeff, for you being here. And I look forward to talking to you again. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Sterling Insights, Stand Out and Supercharge Your Assets, where we provide the info you need from successful leading financial advisors, lawyers, and CPAs. Your hosts, Roger and Catherine Silk, invite you to learn more about Sterling Foundation Management by visiting sterlingfoundations.com.